Hi there, I'm Leslie with the St. Johns County Public Library System, and today I am very fortunate to have Beth Rogero Bowen with me. She is a lifelong resident of St. Augustine as well as a local author, and through her publications, we're able to keep that St. Augustine history alive. So thanks for joining me today, Beth.
You're welcome, Leslie. Thank you for asking me.
This is our pleasure. You have written a few books, and the St. Johns County Public Library System does own them. But if we wanted to purchase yours for our own collection, where could we get them?
Well, the St. Augustine Historical Society was the co-author with me on those three books. And the best place to get them is at their museum store at the Oldest House. It's downtown right on St. Francis Street. And there's free parking in their parking lot for the Oldest House while you're shopping in their museum store. And not only did they have my books, but they have many, many interesting books about St. Augustine.
That is wonderful. You know, St. Augustine is near and dear to my heart, and especially today's talking about the Bridge of Lions and Davis Shores. So I am very excited to hear your talk.
Thank you.
All right, shall we jump on in?
Let's do it. The fourth book that I've written is called Bridge to a Dream, and it's the story of building the Bridge of Lions and Davis Shores in 1925 to 1927. It was published by the Historical Society in 2010 to commemorate the restoration of the Bridge of Lions. But today, I'm just going to focus on the dream part of the book, which was Davis Shores. And for those of you who may not know, Davis Shores occupies the north end of Anastasia Island, just across the Bridge of Lions from St. Augustine. Well, the picture you're looking at is the dreamer in this book, and that was David Paul Davis. He was born in nearby Green Cove Springs around 1885, and his family later moved to Tampa, where he became active in real estate. Around 1915, he moved to Jacksonville for a while and worked many jobs, including a real estate agent. Davis was a natural salesman and a relentless self-promoter. He often referred to himself as Colonel Davis or Doc Davis, but actually he was neither. But by 1920, Davis joined the thousands of people that were going to South Florida for the real estate boom that was taking place down there. In the early 1920s, George Merrick developed Coral Gables, and Carl Fisher developed Miami Beach. Davis went to Miami and formed United Realty and began his first development, which was called Commercial Biltmore, just a bit north of Miami. The thing about Davis is he just didn't sell bare lots, but he provided infrastructure with his projects. He had wide streets with sidewalks, landscaping, water, and sewer. His development was a big success, but he soon realized he couldn't compete with the mega developers Fisher and Merrick. So in early 1924, he headed for Tampa. Davis acquired big and little grassy keys right in the bay across from downtown Tampa, and then he secured the rights to dredge and fill the area to create Davis Islands. The development was a huge success. All the lots were sold out by October of 1925. You can see from this slide, these are some of the buildings that he built on Davis Island, all in the Mediterranean Revival style. And this is why St. Augustine was so excited when on October 15th of 1925, Davis formally announced his plans for a new development here. Davis's arrival in St. Augustine was heralded as the greatest event since Henry Flagler. The St. Augustine Evening Record newspaper published a 40-page special edition. Davis planned to spend $60 million, that's in 1925 dollars, on the development. And that included $1.5 million for a Fort Marion hotel, $250,000 for a country club with two 18-hole golf courses, and $200,000 for a new St. Augustine Yacht Club. There was to be 50 miles of streets and 100 miles of sidewalks, all with utilities and landscaping. Davis planned to do the same thing in St. Augustine that he had done in Tampa. He was going to fill the marsh right across from downtown. Now, if you're looking at this slide, at the right, the street, that is Cathedral Place, and you can see the spire of Cathedral in the right. At the far right, going across to the north end of Anastasia Island, was an old wooden bridge that led from the end of King Street across the bay to the island. But the north tip of Anastasia Island at that time was just marsh. And Davis was going to fill in that marsh. This shows Davis on top of the top deck at the fort, pointing toward his new development. Right behind him are two of his associates, Joseph Sweeney, the man with the mustache. He was the auditor for Davis Properties, and Arthur Milam is on his right. Davis was wined and dined all over town. He's shown here at the city gates with a contingent of city leaders. Davis is the third from the left. He's got the white fedora hat on. At that time that Davis was here, there were new subdivisions all over town, and St. Augustine was in the midst of a real estate frenzy. Santa Rosa, Coquina Gables, Volano Beach had just been platted, and the town was flooded with real estate salesmen and buyers who were eager to purchase all these new lots and hopefully resell them at a profit. Davis knew the importance of power and influence to the success of his enterprises. He appointed Arthur Milam, shown on the right, who was a Jacksonville attorney and Speaker of the Florida House of Representatives, as the vice president of Davis Properties. And his brother, Robert Milam, shown on the left, was also a Jacksonville attorney and the future president of the Florida Bar Association. And he became the general manager of Davis's enterprises. The first thing that Davis did was to establish his sales headquarters in the former Glenmore Hotel on Anderson Circle. And that's what you see right there in the center of your screen behind the car. This had been the former residence of hardware merchant Charles F. Hamblin, and Davis hired local architect Francis Hollingsworth to remodel the building in the Mediterranean style that has become so associated with the Florida boom. In the photo you're looking at here, the renovation is just being completed. If you look up on the second story, you can still see some ladders there. This is a later photo of that remodeled sales building. It looks much the same today, except that cupola on top was blown off in a 1937 storm and never replaced. The building was the longtime home of American Legion Post 37, and for a time was used as a restaurant and is currently being remodeled for another restaurant. Now, as Davis had done in Tampa, he had a fleet of buses to take prospective buyers to view lots on Davis Shores. And here's one of those buses parked in front of the sales office downtown. And this is a publicity shot of his fleet of 10 buses lined up on the sands of St. Augustine Beach for a publicity shot. The dredging to create Davis Shores began on October 31st, 1925, just a little over 2 weeks after Davis first announced the project. Now keep this date in mind because it's remarkable how fast the first buildings appear on Davis Shores. In this photo, at top is the dredge, Clinton, and the bottom is a workboat in the bay. This view from the fort shows the dredging activity. If you look out, you can barely make out the lighthouse in the background, sort of at the right center, and you can see the dredges working to create Davis Shores. There was 13 million cubic feet of fill used to create Davis Shores, and at the time it was promoted as the largest dredging project in the world. This photo shows the pipes pumping the fill over the top of the marshland that was at the north end of Anastasia Island. Lots in the first phase of Davis Shores went on sale November 14th, 1925, while the dredging was still going on. All the lots sold out within a few hours for a total of $16 million in sales. But the most of the lots were bought with just a small amount down or a binder, and this is going to play a big part in the future of Davis Shores. In this photo, you're looking north from about where the east end of the Bridge of Lions is today. At the right center of the photo is the Davis Shores sign, and if you look down in the right corner, that's a blow-up of what the big sign looked like. Here you can already see construction buildings and even some cars and utility poles. This is another view of the work being done, and you're looking east. You can see more construction sheds and the lighthouse in the back. And if you look closely, you see mules. They actually use mules in constructing Davis Shores. The development was originally supposed to extend southward as far as today's Highway 312 bridge, and the golf courses and the country club were going to be at this southern end of the development. This picture shows two of Davis's engineers standing on the ruins of a blockhouse on Fish Island, which has been much in the news recently as it has been saved from development. The first building completed on Davis Shores was this sales office on Arredondo Avenue, and it was designed by Jacksonville architects Marsh and Saxelby. It was a shingle-style building, and it was the only one of the original Davis Shores buildings not done in the Mediterranean Revival style. The sales office opened in January of 1926. Remember, they had just started dredging in November. To me, this whole thing is incredible how fast it happened. And here you can see a large crowd waiting to get inside. Later, after Davis Shores went into receivership, this building became the property of the Knights of Columbus in 1935 and remained their clubhouse until 2003, when it was sold and demolished the following year. The property was replatted into building lots, and it's now occupied by homes. Davis was what we would today call over the top with his promotions. On Sunday, January 3rd, 1926, he sponsored an exhibition match between four of the best European and American golfers. They played a 36-hole match play event at the St. Augustine Links, which was later to become the Ponce de Leon Country Club. This photo shows Davis in the center with amateur champion Bobby Jones on the right and Jones' protege, Watts Gunn, a 19-year-old from Atlanta, on the left. The largest crowd ever assembled at the local links watched the Europeans defeat the Americans 3-2. And on the right of the screen is one of the ads for Davis Shores, which will run full page in newspapers all over the state. And they promoted the development as the fitting sequel to Davis Islands. Huge sales rallies were held in the plaza throughout late 1925 and early 1926. Davis boasted that his company had brought in over $50 million in sales during the first 3 months. This is an aerial view of Davis Shores in May 1926. At the right, you can see the partially built Bridge of Lions. And if you look closely, you can see a little bit of the old wooden bridge too. Near the center of the picture, with the white background, is the sales office on Arredondo Avenue, and a dredge is working on the south part of the development. And right going across the center is the old causeway, which became today's Anastasia Boulevard. At the lower right tip of Davis Shores was the Fort Marion Hotel. It was going to be encircled by a canal, and that's now the home of the Vista Circle. And you can see the beginning of construction on the seawall that would go about 3/4 of the way around Davis Shores. Here, a crane is lifting up a portion of the seawall into place. These were tongue and groove concrete components that were cast on site and then hydraulically jetted into place. The seawall was topped by a 20-inch wide cap and secured with concrete tiebacks and then backfilled up to the back of the wall. A narrow gauge railway was built on Davis Shores to haul construction supplies. In the background, right behind the crane, they're working on the St. Augustine Yacht Club, which I will discuss later. Another big promotion for Davis Shores was a large action model to show prospective buyers what the completed development would look like. Davis remodeled the old Peabody School building on Avallee Street. And what you're looking at here in the foreground, where the two people are standing on the sidewalk, that is Avallee Street. And the other street you see intersecting is Artillery Lane. Now, this is the completed building of the remodeled school. And this housed a model designed by artist Frederick William Least. The sign that's hanging on the building reads Action Model of Davis Shores. And at the far left, you can just see the corner of Artillery Lane and with the Segee Kirby Smith House that's now the home of the St. Augustine Historical Society's research library. Here are 4 local women that were employed to work on this action model, and they're holding a completed section of Fort Marion. Right to left are Ella Mae Davis, who was the daughter of H.W. Davis and sister of Methodist minister Wilma Davis. Next is Elizabeth Gant, who was once my neighbor. She lived at 2028 East Park Avenue. The third woman is Elizabeth Bass, who later taught at the D&B. She married local judge John Grady, and she is the mother of Mary Tree-Eye. The fourth woman on the far left is Marie Haynes, and I could find no information on her. Here's the action model itself, and it opened February of 1926. Prospective buyers could gaze in awe at the wonders promised for Davis Shores. In the left foreground is the fort section that the 4 women were holding in that previous slide. It was an action model. Boats sailed in the harbor, and the Bridge of Lions even opened and closed. Here, attractive bathing beauty Ruth Cooley straddles the Bridge of Lions in the action model. On the far left is the proposed $1.5 million Fort Marion Hotel, which was never built. And as I said before, that whole area was supposed to have a canal behind it, was platted into a Vista Circle in 1949. I do not know whatever became of that action model. The building later became the Artillery Lane Playhouse, shown here in the early 50s, but it was torn down about the mid-50s when that whole area was reconstructed along King Street into a shopping area where Woolworths was once located. So what was actually built in Davis Shores in 1926? Only 4 apartment buildings and 6 homes, in addition to the sales office. This is the 6-unit apartment building under construction at the corner of Arpica and Gerardo. Just behind its right corner, you can see the home being built for Robert Milam at 107 Oglethorpe. The top photo shows the architect's plans for the apartment building I just showed you in the previous slide. Carlos Chopel designed all the original buildings on Davis Shores. Below are views of that apartment building in 2010. Notice it doesn't have several of the decorative elements that were in the original design, but the building has been recently remodeled since I took these pictures. This is the apartment building under construction, a bit further east at 211 Arpica. Below on the left is a postcard of the building as it looked in the 1930s, and on the right is a picture of it today. As you can see, today it has lost much of its Mediterranean revival look. This is a third apartment building as seen today. It's at 12 Arpica. And this is the fourth apartment building under construction at 85 North St. Augustine Boulevard, and below a picture of what it looks like today. This is a wider view of the construction of the apartment building at North St. Augustine Boulevard that I just showed you. Just to its right, the smaller house is a bungalow at 11 Montrano Avenue, and the 2-story house across from it at 10 Montrano. On the very far right is another 2-story home at 307 Minorca Avenue. In the inset in the very front shows the hollow terracotta block that was used in the construction of all these Davis Shores houses. This is a picture of that single-story bungalow at 11 Montrano today. Attorney Leslie Stevens was the first occupant of this house in 1926. This is another of the original Davis Shores houses, a bungalow at 15 Montrano. And this is the 2-story house right across from it at 10 Montrano. I was not able to get a really good photo of this house because it's partially hidden by a large cedar tree. This is a 2-story home built for Harold and Marion Ryman at 307 Minorca. And above it shows the architect's plan, and below is a picture of the house today. The roof that they put on it is hiding the arched doorway and window, and the wrought iron balconies are missing on the top stories. I heard it said that Marion Ryman could tell when her husband Harold was on his way home, as there was nothing on the island to block her view of his car coming across the Bridge Alliance. This home at 107 Oglethorpe was built for Robert Milam, who was the general manager of D.P. Davis Properties. Milam moved in late October 1926. The only home built on the south side of Anastasia Boulevard was this single-story bungalow at 40 Coquina. Now, this photo was taken in 2010, and the house has been renovated, and also another home has been built on that, up to the left of it on the lot that I've shown in the top view. But even as these homes were being built in early 1926, the Florida real estate boom was beginning to collapse. Buyers simply stopped making payments on the Davis Shores lots they had purchased with minimum down payments, and Davis was caught with a cash flow problem. He sold his interest in Davis Islands in Tampa on August 2nd of 1926, trying to raise capital to continue working on Davis Shores. The collapsing Florida land boom was dealt a death blow by a hurricane that devastated Miami on September 18th of 1926. The top slide shows Miami Beach, and below it shows the destruction of Miami's harbor. In October of 1926, Davis sailed for France on the White Star liner Majestic, supposedly to investigate a real estate project on the French Riviera. On the night of October 12, 1926, The 41-year-old Davis either jumped or fell overboard from the porthole in his stateroom. The ship turned around to look for him, but his body was never found. The news of Davis's death stunned St. Augustine, and these are some of the headlines from the St. Augustine Evening Record. The circumstances of his death remain a mystery, with some people claiming that he faked his death for a big insurance policy that he had taken out just prior to sailing. Arthur Milam and the First National Bank were named executors of the estate. Under Milam's direction, work continued on Davis Shores for a short time. These are the architect's plans for the St. Augustine Yacht Club, which began construction in October of 1926. And these are construction photos of the Yacht Club, which was located on South Matanzas Boulevard between Solana and Coquina Avenues. The building was never finished and sat vacant for many, many years. It was finally demolished and the site was replatted into Luana Circle in 1955. The other building that was begun but never finished was the Ponce de Leon Apartments. This was to be a 39-unit complex and located in the triangular lot at the intersection of Flagler Boulevard and Alcazar Street. The top view shows the architect's plans, and the bottom view shows the construction, where they're driving pilings for the foundations. Again, if you look closely, you can see mules working on Davis Shores. The sign reads the Foundation Company, New York and Atlanta. And to me, it's ironic that the only thing ever built were the foundations. For years, these concrete block foundations in the empty lot were a favorite haunt of neighborhood children. I can remember visiting my friends that lived over there, and we'd go down there and play all the time in those catacombs. In 1980, a castle was built on the old foundations. By 1927, the dream of Davis Shores was dead. Some of Davis's plans that were never even begun included the Davis Shores Country Club. This is the architect's plans for it, and it was to be located at the southern end of the development. Another thing never built was this bathing casino that was going to be at the very east end of Oglethorpe Boulevard. This is a view looking east from the east end of the Bridge Alliance on March 5th of 1927, just after the bridge opened for traffic. It's amazing how fast this all was completed, because remember, the dredging began October 31st of 1925, just 1 year and 4 months before this photo was taken. Straight ahead, you're looking at Alcazar Street with Oglethorpe Boulevard angling off to the left, and Anastasia Boulevard was going to go around the curve to the right where those cars are. On Oglethorpe Boulevard, you can see the Milam House at 107 with construction buildings right behind it. The only streets that were ever paved and had sidewalks were just around those original buildings on Oglethorpe, Montrano, Arpica, and Minorca. Most of the streets in Davis Shores were still unpaved into the 1970s. On November 14th, 1933, Jack Thompson and Harold Ryman, the real estate partners, acquired the Davis Shores Administration Building on Arredondo, along with 1,400 lots and 9 acres of Davis Shores in a receivership sale. And the price they paid for most of Davis Shores was about the price of what one lot was selling for in 1925. There were a few homes built on Davis Shores in the 30s, but most of the building activity didn't take place until after World War II, and that was spurred on by returning GIs and VA loans. This photo was taken in 1938 by Carver Harris, and you're looking north, you're looking toward the park that was on Arredondo at Oglethorpe to commemorate the Oglethorpe Battery from when he laid siege to St. Augustine in 1740. It was placed there in 1938 by the St. Augustine Historical Society, and in the 1950s, the Camellia Garden Club undertook a project to beautify the park. Now, the photos that I have used to show the construction on Davis Shores came from this original Davis Shores sales book that was donated to the Historical Society by Arthur Milam Jr. of Ponte Vedra Beach. His father was one of Davis's associates, and he first lived in that house on Oglethorpe Boulevard. Most of the construction photos were taken by local photographer Victor Rayner, who is the father of former Flagler College professor Tom Rayner. And I want to thank the Historical Society for publishing my book in 2010. As I said earlier, they're for sale at the museum store on St. Francis Street, along with many other books.
Looking at these photos and listening to you, it was such a treat because this was like my own personal, talk with you. And I know that our patrons are going to enjoy this so much. So thank you for taking the time to do this with us today.
Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate your asking me. I was happy to do it.
Well, thank you. And we ask that all of you like, share, and comment. And if you have special memories of St. Augustine and St. Johns County, please share them with us. We would love to hear them. All right. Well, you all take care. Thank you.